My parents gave my childhood bedroom, the one with my dead mom's butterfly stickers, to my stepsister. And when I turned the garage into something amazing, she got so jealous she took a sledgehammer to a wall. What happened next? I still can't believe it. Hey, Reddit Family Stories community. This is Jessica, and I'm about to tell you the most insane story about what happened when my dad remarried and my new stepsister decided she wanted everything I had. I'm sitting here right now, 3 months after everything went down, and I still can't wrap my head around how one person's jealousy literally brought the ceiling down. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning. I'm 17, about to be a senior in high school. I lived, in this nice suburban house with my dad, Andrew. My mom, Catherine, died when I was 8 years old. Breast cancer. It was brutal, and those years after she died were the hardest of my life. But before she got really sick, Mom and I had this tradition. We decorated my bedroom together when I was 6. We spent an entire weekend putting these butterfly decals all over my walls, pink ones, purple ones, some with glitter. She let me pick every single one. That room was my sanctuary, you know? It was the last thing we did together before everything changed. Fast forward to last year. Dad started dating this woman named Carol. She seemed nice at first, I guess. A little pushy, but whatever. They got married pretty quickly, within 8 months of meeting. Dad said he didn't want to be alone anymore, and I understood that. I really did. But Carol came with baggage. And by baggage, I mean Brianna. Brianna is Carol's daughter. She's 19, so 2 years older than me. From the moment I met her, I could tell we were going to have problems. She had this entitled attitude, like the world owed her something. Always scrolling through Instagram, comparing herself to influencers, complaining about not having nice enough clothes or a big enough room at her mom's old apartment. When they moved into our house, my house, where I'd lived my entire life, things got weird fast. It was a Saturday afternoon, maybe 2 weeks after the wedding. I was in my room doing homework when Brianna just walked in without knocking. She looked around with this critical expression, touching my stuff, opening my closet. "I want this room," she said, just like that. No hey or do you mind? Just a demand. I actually laughed because I thought she was joking. Yeah, okay. This has been my room since I was 6. My mom and I decorated it together. She crossed her arms. But pink and butterflies are my favorite things. And look at this vanity. She walked over to my mom's antique vanity desk that I'd inherited, the one with the oval mirror and delicate carved legs. This would be perfect for my makeup collection. I felt my chest get tight. That was my mom's. "You can't have this room." "Why not?" She turned to face me, and I saw Carol standing in the doorway. "It's not fair that you get the biggest bedroom upstairs just because you were here first. We're supposed to be a family now, right? The guest room next door is tiny and has barely any closet space." Carol smiled at me, this fake sweet smile that made my skin crawl. "Brianna does have a point, honey. Maybe you could consider it a welcoming gift? New family, fresh start?" I looked past them, hoping to see Dad coming to back me up. He appeared in the hallway, and I waited for him to tell them no, to defend the room that his dead wife had helped create for their daughter. Instead, he put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Jessica, sweetheart, would you mind giving your room to your new sister? She really wants it, and I know this has been hard for everyone. If you agree, I'll let you have the garage. The whole thing. You can fix it up however you want, bring your mom's things down there. What do you say?" I stood there, completely stunned. The garage was detached from the house, access through the backyard. It was huge, probably 3 times the size of my current room. And being on the first floor, away from everyone else, actually sounded kind of amazing. But giving up Mom's butterflies? Letting Brianna take over the space where I still felt closest to my mom? I must have been silent for too long because Brianna made this exaggerated sigh. See? She's being selfish about it. That snapped me out of it. You know what? Fine. If they wanted to force me out of my childhood bedroom, I'd take the garage and make it so incredible that Brianna would regret ever asking for my old room. Deal, I said, looking straight at Dad. But I'm taking Mom's vanity, her photographs, and I'm removing every butterfly from those walls before I go. Brianna's smile faltered for just a second, but then she recovered. Whatever. Keep your butterflies. I was going to repaint anyway. That sentence felt like a knife in my chest, but I didn't let them see me react. Over the next 4 months, I poured everything into transforming that garage. I'd been saving money from my part-time job at the public library, and I used every penny. Dad helped me install a big window so I could see our garden, which took a whole weekend of cutting through the wall and framing it properly. I built floor-to-ceiling bookshelves along one wall. I created this amazing reading nook with floor cushions and throws. I strung fairy lights across the exposed beams in the ceiling, and they gave everything this magical glow at night. I set up a proper desk workspace near the window where I could do homework and watch the birds outside. The piece de resistance was this mini projector I found on sale. I mounted it near my bed so I could have movie nights, the images playing on the white wall opposite. I hung all the photos of Mom and me, at the beach, her birthday party, the silly selfie we took while painting my old room pink for the first time. It became my space. Completely mine. Word spread at school because I'd post pictures sometimes, not trying to show off, just sharing my progress. My friends started calling it the studio, and everyone wanted to hang out there. It was private, it was cool, it had amazing natural light, and honestly, it was better than any bedroom in the actual house. And Brianna noticed. Oh boy, did she notice. I'd see her face every time someone complimented my new space or asked to see it. She'd get this pinched expression, like she'd bitten into something sour. One day, I caught her standing in the backyard just staring at my garage windows, and when she saw me watching, she hurried back inside. Then the complaints started. I'd hear her in the master bedroom. She and Carol had been using it as a command center for redecorating, whining to our parents about how unfair everything was. Jessica has basically a whole apartment while I'm stuck in a regular bedroom. This isn't fair. I'm the one who moved in here, I should get the nice accommodations, right? Carol would make these sympathetic noises. Andrew, maybe we should reconsider. Perhaps we could switch the rooms one more time? I waited, my heart pounding, wondering if Dad would cave again. But this time, he didn't. Brianna, you spent your own money fixing up that room exactly how you wanted it. You got the pink bedroom you asked for. Jessica worked hard on the garage with her own savings. The answer is no. This discussion is over. The tantrum that followed was epic. I could hear Brianna from all the way in the garage, yelling about how this family didn't care about her, how she was always second best, how Jessica got everything handed to her. Eventually, she stopped. And for about 2 weeks, things seemed okay. What I didn't know was that Brianna had switched tactics. She started obsessively upgrading her room, my old room. She bought these professional-grade LED light strips that synchronized with music, spent a fortune on a built-in vanity that made mine look shabby, even convinced Dad to install a mini-bar area right outside her bedroom door. Dad had to put it all on his credit card because her demands never stopped. Carol kept saying they needed to keep the peace and make sure Brianna felt valued. Brianna would literally drag visitors upstairs to show off her renovations, but then she'd get mad when they'd ask to see my garage room afterward. You could see the frustration building in her. I need more space, she started saying. One bedroom isn't enough for my vision. That should have been a red flag. But none of us took it seriously. Then came the day of my cousin Tyler's graduation party. It was a Saturday morning. Carol was making breakfast, Dad was reading the news on his tablet, and I was getting ready to go. The party was about 2 hours away. Brianna came downstairs in her pajamas, looking pale. I don't feel good. I think I'm getting a migraine. You guys go ahead. I'll just rest. Carol put her hand on Brianna's forehead. No fever. Do you need anything? Just quiet. And darkness. I'll be fine. We left around noon. I remember looking back at the house as we drove away and seeing Brianna in her bedroom window, watching us leave. Something about her expression seemed off, but I couldn't place what it was. We were at the graduation party for maybe 3 hours when Dad's phone started ringing. It was our neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, and she sounded panicked. Andrew, you need to come home right now. Something happened at your house. I heard this enormous crash, like lightning struck the building. There's dust everywhere, and I can see it through your upstairs windows. I called 911. We left immediately, Dad driving way over the speed limit, all of us silent with worry. I kept texting Brianna but got no response. The entire drive home, I had this sinking feeling in my stomach. Something was very, very wrong. When we pulled up to the house, there were 2 ambulances, a fire truck, and 3 police cars. Mrs. Patterson was standing in her yard with several other neighbors, all of them looking shaken. Dad barely put the car in park before jumping out. Where's my daughter? Where's Brianna? A paramedic rushed over. Sir, are you the homeowner? Your daughter is inside. She's conscious but trapped. We're working to get her out now. Trapped? What do you mean trapped? The fire chief, a guy named Rodriguez, approached us. Sir, it appears your daughter was doing some kind of demolition work upstairs. She knocked down a load-bearing wall between 2 bedrooms, and the ceiling partially collapsed. She's pinned by a support beam. I felt the blood drain from my face. She knocked down a wall? By herself? We found a sledgehammer at the scene, Rodriguez confirmed. Mrs. Patterson heard the noise and called us immediately, but we estimate she's been trapped for approximately 4 hours. 4 hours. Brianna had been lying under a fallen ceiling beam for 4 hours, unable to move or call for help. They wouldn't let us inside. We had to stand in the yard while the rescue team worked. Carol was crying hysterically, Dad was pacing, and I just stood there feeling numb and guilty, even though I hadn't done anything. It took another 3 hours before they got her out. They brought her down on a stretcher, her head and neck completely immobilized by a brace. Her eyes were open, staring straight up at the sky, and I could see tear tracks on her dusty face. I can't feel my legs, I heard her whisper to the paramedic. Why can't I feel anything? We followed the ambulance to the hospital. The emergency room staff immediately took her back for CT scans and MRIs while we waited in this horrible fluorescent-lit waiting room. Hours crawled by. Carol couldn't stop crying. Dad sat with his head in his hands. Finally, a neurosurgeon came out. Dr. Hassan was her name, and I'll never forget the expression on her face. Mr. Chin, Mrs. Chin, I'm very sorry. Brianna has sustained a severe spinal cord injury at the C4 level, that's the 4th cervical vertebra, here in the neck. The beam that fell on her severed her spinal cord completely. What does that mean? Carol asked, her voice barely above a whisper. It means Brianna is quadriplegic. She has no movement or sensation from the neck down. She'll require a ventilator to help her breathe. She'll need round-the-clock care for the rest of her life. I'm very sorry. The sound Carol made was inhuman. Dad caught her as her legs gave out. I stood there, frozen, trying to process what I'd just heard. Brianna, annoying, entitled, jealous Brianna, would never walk again. Would never move her arms or legs. Would never be able to do anything for herself. At 19 years old, her life was essentially over because she'd taken a sledgehammer to a wall. They let us see her after she was settled in the ICU. She had tubes and wires everywhere, a ventilator breathing for her with this rhythmic whooshing sound. Her eyes tracked us as we entered, and I saw recognition, followed by something that looked like shame. Through a speaking valve that worked with her ventilator, Brianna asked to talk to me specifically. Carol looked ready to protest, but Dad nodded. "Give them a minute." I approached her bed, not knowing what to say. "What do you say to someone who destroyed their own life?" "You did this," Brianna said, her voice mechanical and breathy through the valve. "You made me feel like I had to compete. Like I had to prove I was worth something in this family. Now I'll never paint my nails again. Never try on clothes. Never use my hands to hold a phone or do my makeup. I just wanted to fit in. I just wanted to be special like you." I felt tears running down my face. "Brianna, I didn't. You made everyone love your stupid garage room," she interrupted. "Everyone wanted to see it, wanted to hang out there. And I was just forgotten in the regular bedroom upstairs. I thought if I combined the two rooms, made something even bigger and better, maybe then." She couldn't finish the sentence because she started crying, and crying made it hard to work the speaking valve. I stood there, feeling this horrible mix of guilt and anger. Yes, I'd made my space nice. But I hadn't forced her to do this. I hadn't handed her a sledgehammer and told her to knock down a structural wall. Carol didn't see it that way, though. As soon as I left Brianna's room, she launched into me in the hallway. "This is your fault," she screamed, not caring that we were in a hospital. "You and Andrew. If you had just shared your bedroom from the beginning, if you had helped her decorate her room instead of making yours so much better, she wouldn't have felt desperate enough to do this." "Carol, that's not fair," Dad started, but she turned on him too. "Don't. Just don't. Your precious daughter got to keep her shrine to her dead mother while my daughter felt like a second-class citizen in what was supposed to be her new home. And now look at her. Look at what happened." Security had to escort Carol out of the ICU. The rest of us eventually went home, but Brianna stayed hospitalized for 6 weeks. When they finally released her, our house had to be completely modified. The upstairs was condemned, the structural damage from her demolition was too severe, and the ceiling collapse had compromised the entire second floor. The only room on the first floor big enough for all of Brianna's medical equipment? The garage. My garage. So in the end, she got what she wanted. She got my space. Except now it wasn't filled with fairy lights and bookshelves. It was hospital equipment, a ventilator, a specialized bed, monitoring devices, and the constant sound of machines keeping her alive. I moved my stuff into the guest room, the small one Brianna had originally rejected. Dad helped me carry my mom's vanity upstairs carefully, along with all my photos and books. Brianna was moved into the garage on a Friday afternoon. The medical equipment company took hours setting everything up. A hospital bed replaced where my reading nook used to be. My window that overlooked the garden now framed her view of a world she could see but never enter again. I thought that was the end of it. That we'd all just exist in this new horrible reality. But then, 3 weeks after Brianna came home, I got a phone call that changed everything again. "Hello, is this Jessica Chen?" "Yes. This is Nathan Wright from Fortress Insurance. I'm the investigator assigned to your family's property damage claim. I need you to come down to the police station this afternoon to answer some questions. We've found some irregularities that require clarification." What had they found? What could possibly need police involvement? I walked into the kitchen where Dad was making coffee and Carol was staring blankly at the wall. I told them about the call. Carol's face went white, then red with anger. "What did you tell them? What lies have you been spreading to the insurance company?" "I haven't talked to anyone," I protested. "I don't even know what this is about." Dad held up his hand. Everyone calm down. "Jessica, just go answer their questions honestly. Tell them exactly what happened." We have nothing to hide. But the way he said it, with this tired, defeated tone, it made me wonder if that was true. I drove to the police station alone, my mind racing the whole way. I kept trying to figure out what insurance irregularities could possibly involve me. I hadn't done anything except renovate the garage with my own money. Unless they thought I was somehow involved in Brianna's plan? I parked in the lot, sat in my car for several minutes trying to calm down, then finally forced myself to go inside. The officer at the front desk directed me to a small interview room. It smelled like burnt coffee and industrial cleaner. The walls were this depressing beige color, and there was a metal table with a few chairs. A woman in business casual clothes entered a few minutes later. She was probably in her 40s, with dark hair pulled back in a tight ponytail and sharp, intelligent eyes. Jessica? I'm Detective Miranda Reeves. Thank you for coming in. She shook my hand firmly and sat across from me. I want to be clear, you're not under investigation for anything. This is what we call an informational interview. You're free to have a parent or attorney present if you want, but you're also free to leave at any time. Okay, I said, my voice coming out shaky. What's this about? Detective Reeves pulled out a tablet and opened a folder. The insurance company hired me to review the circumstances of the structural collapse at your home. They do this routinely in cases of significant property damage to rule out fraud or intentional damage. What we found raised some concerns. She turned the tablet toward me. On the screen was a list of search queries with dates and timestamps. My blood ran cold as I read them. How to safely demolish an interior wall. Load-bearing walls versus non-load-bearing. How to use a sledgehammer for demo. Can you get sued if you accidentally damage house? Does homeowner's insurance cover demolition? How long does insurance claim take? What happens if you knock down a wall without a permit? All of these searches were from Brianna's laptop in the 6 days leading up to the accident. These searches were conducted by your stepsister Brianna in the week before the incident, Detective Reeves explained. Given the timeline and content, it suggests premeditation. Can you tell me what you know about Brianna's plans for any construction or renovation projects? I shook my head, still staring at the searches. She never said anything about knocking down walls. She just kept complaining that her room wasn't big enough, that she needed more space to compete with my garage. Detective Reeves wrote something down. Tell me about the day of the accident. Walk me through exactly what happened that morning. I took a deep breath and recounted everything. How we were planning to go to Tyler's graduation party. How Brianna suddenly said she wasn't feeling well. How she specifically said she had a migraine and just wanted to stay home and rest in the quiet and dark. Did she seem nervous or excited when you left? The detective asked. I thought back to that morning, to seeing Brianna watching us from her window. She looked, I don't know, determined maybe? At the time I thought she was just mad about missing the party. But now it seems like she was steeling herself for what she was about to do, Detective Reeves finished. She pulled up more information on her tablet. Your neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, reported hearing noise around 1 p.m., music playing loudly upstairs. Then around 1:30, she heard rhythmic pounding sounds, like hammering. This continued, stopping and starting, for approximately 2 hours. Then at 3:30, there was an enormous crash, and she called 911. 2 hours. Brianna had spent 2 hours hitting that wall with a sledgehammer, taking breaks when her arms got tired, then starting again. She'd had so many chances to stop, to realize this was a terrible idea, but she kept going. Did your stepsister ever threaten to damage your garage or express wanting to take it from you? The detective asked. Not directly. She complained about how unfair it was that I had so much space. Carol, her mom, would make comments too, like I was being selfish for keeping the garage to myself. But Brianna never actually said I'm going to destroy a wall or anything like that. Detective Reeves made more notes. What about the garage renovation itself? Who did the work? Mostly me. I bought all the materials with money from my part-time job. I did the painting, built the bookshelves, hung the lights. My dad helped me install the window because that required cutting through the exterior wall and framing it properly. The detective looked up sharply. And did you pull permits for that window installation? My stomach dropped. I don't know. Dad said he would handle that part. I assumed he did? That's something we'll need to verify, she said, making another note. If that work was done without proper permits, it's a code violation. Great. So not only was Brianna's demolition illegal, but my garage renovation might be too. The interview continued for another hour. Detective Reeves asked about family dynamics, about Carol's attitude toward me, about whether anyone had ever suggested violence or property destruction. Finally, she closed her tablet and looked at me seriously. Jessica, I'm going to be straight with you. There are several potential legal issues here. If your stepsister intentionally damaged the house, that's one thing. If she was planning insurance fraud, hoping the insurance would cover her unpermitted demolition, that's much more serious. If anyone else knew about or encouraged her plan, they could be implicated too. Wait, you think someone might have known? Like who? That's what we're trying to determine. Would you be willing to have your phone and computer examined by our tech team? Just to verify that you weren't involved in any planning. Yes, I said immediately, probably too loudly. Absolutely. I had no idea she was going to do this. I'll give you whatever you need. I unlocked my phone and slid it across the table, then gave her my laptop password. Detective Reeves thanked me and said they'd return my devices within 48 hours. As I drove home, my mind was reeling. Brianna had planned this. She'd researched it, ordered a sledgehammer, waited until we were all gone, and then spent hours knocking down that wall. And she'd thought insurance would just fix it? That there wouldn't be consequences? When I got home, Dad was waiting. I told him everything about the interview, about the searches they'd found, about the permits question. His face went gray. I didn't pull a permit for your window. I didn't think, it was just a small window, and we weren't changing the structure, just adding an opening. Dad, they might fine you for that. He nodded slowly. We might have bigger problems than that. The next morning, Dad's phone rang. It was the insurance investigator, Nathan Wright. Dad put him on speaker. Mr. Chen, I need to inform you that after reviewing the evidence, Fortress Insurance is denying your claim for the structural damage to your home. Dad's face went pale. What? Why? The demolition was intentional, performed without permits, and our investigation suggests it may have been planned with knowledge of the insurance policy. That constitutes fraud, which voids your coverage. We will, however, continue to cover Brianna's medical care and equipment under your health policy. But we didn't know. Brianna did this on her own. I understand, Mr. Chen, but the policy is clear. Intentional damage caused by household members is not covered. You'll receive a formal letter within 7 business days. The call ended. Dad stood there, staring at his phone like it had personally betrayed him. How much will it cost to fix? I asked quietly. The structural engineer estimated between $80,000 and $120,000, he said hollowly. Plus whatever fines the city levies for the unpermitted work. We couldn't afford that. There was no way we could afford that. Over the next few weeks, more information came out. The delivery driver confirmed bringing a heavy package to our house 3 days before the accident. It was the sledgehammer. Brianna had ordered it online using Carol's credit card. When Detective Reeves showed Carol the credit card statements, Carol insisted she'd only authorized the vanity and LED lights. She claimed Brianna must have taken her card without permission. But then the detective showed us text messages between Carol and Brianna from 8 days before the accident. Carol, you need to make it impossible for them to ignore how unfair this is. Brianna, I have a plan. Carol, good. You deserve better than what they've given you. More texts showed Carol constantly validating Brianna's complaints, feeding her resentment, telling her she deserved more. Carol broke down when confronted with her own words. I just meant she should decorate more. Make her room nicer. I didn't know she was going to knock down a wall. But Detective Reeves pointed out that Carol had created an environment where Brianna felt justified in taking extreme action. She'd encouraged Brianna to escalate, even if she didn't know the specific plan. A structural engineer came to assess the damage. Her name was Dr. Morgan Hayes, and she spent 3 hours examining the upstairs before delivering her verdict. The wall your daughter demolished was load-bearing, she explained, showing us the original building plans from 1987. It supported the ceiling joists for the entire second floor. Without it, the structure collapsed within hours. This is why permits and inspections exist, to prevent exactly this kind of catastrophic failure. She also inspected my garage window and confirmed that adding any opening to an exterior wall required a permit because it affected the building envelope and thermal integrity. You'll need to retroactively obtain permits for both violations, Dr. Hayes said. And hire a licensed contractor to repair the structural damage upstairs. The city building inspector, James Rivera, came next. He issued 2 violation notices, one for Brianna's unpermitted demolition, one for my unpermitted window. The fines totaled $4,000, plus we had to hire an engineer to design a proper repair plan. Dad took out a home equity loan to pay for everything. $85,000 at 7% interest for 15 years. Every month for the next 15 years, we'd be paying for Brianna's mistake. About 6 weeks after the collapse, we had a meeting at the police station with everyone involved, Detective Reeves, Nathan Wright from insurance, James Rivera from the city, and Lucas Thompson, a social worker assigned to our case. Detective Reeves walked us through the entire timeline. The searches, the text messages, the premeditation. After reviewing all the evidence, she concluded, we're not recommending criminal charges. Brianna's actions were reckless and showed poor judgment, but she's already facing consequences more severe than any criminal penalty. As for Carol, while her texts show she encouraged escalation, there's insufficient evidence that she knew about the specific demolition plan. Nathan confirmed the insurance denial would stand. Carol's face crumpled. James said the city would waive additional penalties if we started the repair work within 30 days and completed it within 90. Lucas, the social worker, was last to speak. I'm referring your family to Child Protective Services for voluntary support services. Not as punishment, he added quickly when Carol started to protest, but to ensure Jessica has access to counseling and that the family has help managing the stress of Brianna's care needs. The meeting ended. Everyone handed Dad paperwork. I went home, shut myself in the small guest room, and cried for the first time since it happened. Life after that became a weird new normal. A home health aide came to care for Brianna from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day. Family members had to split the overnight shifts. Dad took a leave from his job to manage the house repairs and learn Brianna's care routine. Carol fell apart completely, barely able to function. And me? I tried to maintain some semblance of normalcy while living in a house that felt like a hospital crossed with a construction site. One night, about 3 months post-accident, I was sitting in my small guest room when I heard Brianna's ventilator alarm go off. I went to check on her, the aide had left for the day, and Carol and Dad were both asleep. Brianna was awake, watching me with those eyes that could still move, still show emotion. I checked the ventilator display. Just a position alarm. I adjusted her slightly and reset it. I didn't think the ceiling would fall, she said through her speaking valve, her voice thin and mechanical. I thought I'd knock down the wall, have this amazing combined room, and Dad's insurance would fix any small damages. I thought I'd film it and post the transformation on Instagram. I stared at her, this person who'd destroyed her own life chasing likes and validation. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm sorry I blamed you. I'm sorry I was jealous. I'm sorry for all of it. But sorry doesn't fix a severed spinal cord. Sorry doesn't give you back the ability to move or breathe on your own. Sorry doesn't undo the $85,000 debt my family now carries. I forgive you, I said, because what else could I say? But Brianna, you made your own choices. I can't take responsibility for them. She blinked twice, yes. Our communication system. She understood. Over the following months, our family slowly started to function again. The upstairs repairs were completed. The city violations were resolved. We established a care routine that worked. Carol and Dad started marriage counseling. Carol had to come to terms with how her behavior had contributed to the disaster. And me? I started researching colleges with good disability support programs. Not because I wanted to go into that field, but because I realized I needed to understand Brianna's world if we were going to live in the same house for the foreseeable future. I also reclaimed a small corner of the garage for myself. Just 3 feet of space with a shelf where I put Mom's photos and a few of my favorite books. Brianna watched me set it up through her eye-tracking tablet. I'm not trying to take over your space, I told her. Just claiming a tiny corner. She blinked twice. Yes. Permission granted. It's been 3 months now since the collapse. Our house is different. Our family is different. Everything is different. There are no villains in this story, not really. Just people making terrible choices out of jealousy, insecurity, and desperation. Just consequences that no one saw coming until it was too late. Brianna got what she wanted in the end. She got my garage. She got my space. She just didn't understand what it would cost her to get it. And now we all live with those consequences. Every single day. With the sound of the ventilator, the beeping of monitors, the reality of a 19-year-old girl who will never move again. Some days I look at her and feel overwhelming sadness. Other days, I feel anger that she destroyed so many lives chasing Instagram-worthy perfection. Most days, I just feel tired. But we're managing. We're surviving. And slowly, very slowly, we're learning to live in this new reality. Thanks for reading our story on Reddit FamilyStories. If you've dealt with blended family drama, jealousy, or watching someone make a life-destroying mistake, drop a comment below. And if you think I handled this right, or if you think I could have done something differently, I want to hear about it. Don't forget to subscribe for more real family stories. These aren't entertainment, they're real people's lives. See you in the next video.